The 2019 free agency class was so spectacular that it changed the NBA landscape forever. And though there may not be as many eye-popping names as there were the previous offseason, this year's class definitely has some players that can make a splash in free agency. And in today's video, we're going to go over the potential moves that these players could make. But before we get started, make sure you drop a like and comment your opinions down below. Let's aim for at least 1,000 likes. I know you guys can do it. Y'all have been showing me immense support on this channel and I appreciate it. We're on the road to 75,000 subscribers. But without further ado, let's start off with the first player, and it is Brandon Ingram. Coming off of a career season that many people considered a breakout year to the point that he won the Most Improved Player of the Year award, the young forward stock is higher than it has ever been. A mid-range assassin, a well-improved three-point shooter, solid playmaker, and a capable defender, Ingram has all the tools and capabilities of not only becoming one of the top 10 to 15 players in the league, but also one of the better two-way players as well. And considering the fact that he is fairly young and the Pelicans are trying to build upon their young core, I don't see a reason for the Pelicans not to offer him a max extension, especially considering that he is a restricted free agent, so you know a lot of other teams are definitely going to keep a close eye on him to be able to match the offer or hell supersede it if the Pelicans don't offer him that max. So him staying in New Orleans is probably going to be the safe bet for me. But the next player that we have on this list is Danilo Galinari. Galinari was a really good contributor for the Oklahoma City Thunder last year, but considering that the Thunder are going to more than likely part ways with Chris Paul, there really is no reason for them to keep Galinari, especially after the terrible playoff performance that he just showed against the Houston Rockets this year. So if that's the case, what team could use a guy like Galinari? A player with the ability to space the floor in the front court that can also play the three as well. I definitely think there's a lot of value in a guy like Danilo Galinari, and I think he's going to go to the Miami Heat. Now, as far as the contract situation, I think it's going to be a one-year deal, because considering that Goron Dragic is going to be entering the free agency market, I definitely think that Galinari adding him to that team would do wonders for their offense. Defensively, they definitely take a step back, but considering that they still do have Bam Adebayo, Iguodala, Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, they're still not going to fall off too much to the point that their offense can't compensate for how bad their defense is going to be. And like I said, this is only going to be a one-year deal, so it's going to give a year for Bam Adebayo to develop, because I think he definitely needs to do so. And considering that next year is going to be a transition year because they're waiting for Giannis Antetokounmpo to hit the free agency market, I definitely believe that it is the right move to make for all parties involved. But moving on to the next player that we have, we got Fred VanVleet. Now, I will admit VanVleet's case is a little bit weird, because on one hand, VanVleet had an amazing postseason in 2019, at least in the conference finals and the NBA finals especially, but this year in the playoffs, he wasn't really all that good. But considering the fact that VanVleet does have the ability to space the floor, he's a good playmaker, and he's a really solid defender, there's definitely going to be a lot of teams willing to throw him that bag. But similar to Danilo Galinari, I believe Miami is a perfect spot for him, because it's clear that Goron Dragic had a great playoff run, and I don't think the Miami Heat are going to want to overpay him because of his age and the fact that he is coming off of an injury in the finals. Who knows if that's just a sign of things to come. So I think that adding a guy like VanVleet, who's even better and more capable on the defensive end, would actually even work out better, and I think he would be a better option alongside Jimmy Butler in the backcourt. But moving on to the next player we got Montrezl Harrell. Now, in the case of Montrezl Harrell, he is definitely coming off of a very interesting year, because despite his success in the regular season, even capturing the Sixth Man of the Year award, in the playoffs he completely stunk it up, and against the Denver Nuggets he was damn near unplayable due to his lack of size, especially against a guy like Nikola Jokic. And now that he is entering free agency, I don't think he's going to stay with the Los Angeles Clippers. So where do I believe he'll go? I think the Atlanta Hawks are a good fit for him, because when you look at their front court depth, Dwayne Dedmon is their backup center. And for those who don't know, Dwayne Dedmon is kind of ass, so I definitely think they need to beef up their front court depth. And considering that Dedmon was at least a solid three-point shooter the year prior, I definitely think they should try to build upon that, so that way Montrez can have his own spots in the paint. And I know defensively that's not the greatest fit in the world, especially with a guy like Trae Young on the team, but to be fair, the Hawks don't really have that many options in the free agency market, and they don't have that many great defenders on their team as it is, is, so you might as well go all in on offense and get a guy like Montrezl Harrell, who's one of the best bench players in the league. But moving on to the next free agent, we have Hassan Whiteside. Now for those who are consistent watchers of my channel, you know how I feel about Hassan Whiteside. I believe he's one of the more overrated players in the league, and I think that's due to the fact that his numbers suggest that he's way better than he actually is. But despite my many criticisms of Hassan Whiteside, he is a really solid rim protector and actually led the league in blocks per game, and he actually added a solid mid-range jumper to his game, actually shooting around 42% from the mid-range area. So there is some value in picking up a guy like Hassan Whiteside. And as far as the team I believe he'll go to, I think the Toronto Raptors are a very viable option, because with Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, and Chris Boucher entering free agency, there's a good chance the Raptors could lose all three of them. So if that's the case, you definitely need to beef up that front court, and though Whiteside isn't great when it comes to switching, he's still a very more than capable rim protector with the ability to block shots better than damn near anybody in the league. That'll definitely come in handy when they face a team like the Philadelphia 76ers or the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs. Not saying he's going to shut down a guy like Embiid or even Giannis, but he can still contribute with his rim protection. But moving on to the next player that we have on this list, we got Christian Wood. Now, a lot of Detroit Pistons fans have asked me to make a video about Christian Wood, and the reason that I haven't made a video about him is simply due to the fact that I don't watch Detroit Pistons games. I only see Christian Wood's highlights, and that may sound bad to a lot of you guys, but I gotta be real. The Detroit Pistons do not deserve a single second of my watch time. But despite that, Christian Wood in the last 27 games of the season put up really solid numbers and averaged 18 points and 8 rebounds as well as a block, shooting 56% from the field, 41% from behind the arc, albeit on 3 attempts a game, and he also shot 77% from the free throw line. Now, as far as where I think he's going to end up, I think the New York Knicks are a very viable option. Now, I know a lot of people are going to get scared when I mention that, as careers essentially go to die in New York. Just look at Julius Randle. But considering the fact that Bobby Portis is going to be off the books potentially due to a team option, as well as Taj Gibson and Wayne Ellington, that's nearly $35 million off the books. And they're losing 2 big men in Bobby Portis and Taj Gibson, so your front court depth is already going away. And from what I've heard, they're more than likely going to trade Julius Randle this offseason, so I definitely believe that if you pick up Christian Wood as your power forward, a front court of him and Robinson could definitely do wonders for this team moving forward. And to be honest, because the Knicks are so trash, they don't even care about fit anyways, so there's a good chance they could still sign Christian Wood while even having some of these guys on the roster anyways. That's just how pathetic the Knicks are. But moving on to the next player, we got Goron Dragic. Dragic had an amazing postseason this year in which he averaged 20 points per game and also was a really good floor spacer for the Miami Heat, and we all know his abilities as a playmaker. But considering his age and him coming off of an injury in the finals, the Miami Heat could potentially be moving on from him in free agency, especially if he hits the market and a lot of teams give him a hefty contract, such as the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because yes, Chris Paul is on the roster, but we all anticipate for him to be traded sooner than later, and I think a backcourt of Goran Dragic and Shea is definitely a solid move for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sure, he isn't going to bring the defensive ability that Chris Paul had, and even his leadership, I would say, but he's still a very capable scorer with the ability to space the floor and play make, which is something that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander struggles in. So I definitely think that when it pertains to fit, offensively, it's a match made in heaven. But moving on to the next and final player on this list, we have Demar Derozan. Now, to be quite honest with you, Demar is probably the biggest question mark among all of these guys on this list, because he does have a player option for $27 million this year, but considering all of the reports that he is so unhappy in San Antonio, and San Antonio is unhappy with him because of his play, it's very possible for him to opt out of his deal. Or maybe he's going to opt in and they do somewhat of a sign and trade type of situation. And to be honest, among all the teams in the league, it's kind of hard to pick where he can end up, but I think the Brooklyn Nets is where he's going to be, because the Nets, they've made it clear that they're trying to get a third star to pair with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And if that's the case, I don't think they're going to get a Drew Holiday. So what's the next option? It's DeMar DeRozan. And I think that DeMar honestly should just come off of the bench at this stage in his career. He's not great on the defensive side of the ball. As a playmaker, he pales in comparison to a lot of his peers. He's a terrible playoff performer. And then to top things off, he is a terrible three-point shooter. Doesn't even attempt a lot of them, and the ones that he attempts, he can't make those either. So at this point in his career, It's best for him to just come off of the bench, and I think him doing so in Brooklyn will be a pretty solid spot for him, and honestly it's just the best move for his career at this point. Now defensively, they're definitely going to have some issues if Kyrie and Demar Derozan are on the court, but hey, I'm not saying that I would make that move if I were the GM of the Nets. I'm just saying that's the move that I believe they're going to make. But that concludes this video, you guys. Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a like. Let's get to 1,000 likes. Be sure to subscribe and share this video with your friends, as well as turn on post notifications. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram. The links for my social media accounts are in the description box down below, as well as the links for my articles on B-Ball University. But without further ado, y'all stay safe and have a great day. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Peace.